Hi friends, it's Kayla Moran and welcome back to the Let's Get Candid podcast. If you're new here, Let's Get Candid is my safe space since 2021 when I was in law school to share the behind the scenes of my life, chat with people who inspire me, and give you guys tangible tips on how to become the best, most empowered version of you. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real nitty-gritty of social media, entrepreneurship, dating and relationships, mental health, and so much more. This podcast has been on hiatus since December 2024, and when I'm still not ready to bring it back full time, I knew I had to share a special edition episode of all the crazy things that have been happening in my career and life in the last few weeks. But don't worry, we'll be back in 2026. Today is all about one of the most surreal experiences of my career thus far, because honestly, I'm just getting started, testifying as an expert witness on Capitol Hill about the creator economy. If you don't know me, my name is Kayla Moran. I am a lawyer and content creator and lawyer for content creators, influencers, and entrepreneurs in the creator economy. I started my law firm right after graduation about 3 years ago, and it has been an absolutely wild ride ever since. I've chronicled a lot of my journey on this podcast since I started it as a 3L. And if you don't follow me on social media, you should follow me on there because all of the behind the scenes and updates are on there in the meantime. But before I dive in, I need to take you back onto how all of this came to be. On Labor Day, just a month ago, I had my monthly mentee B and I was feeling completely overwhelmed. And as a late 20s girl, part of it was the realization that my life is moving at a different pace than those around me. And while that's okay because I like where I am, I'm still sad about it. I was losing friends, feeling I couldn't relate to people anymore, and the need to prioritize myself because the things I've been working on and working towards are all coming to fruition. And I was just honestly really burnt out. But also adds that the entrepreneurship struggles of needing to scale because I have plenty of work now that it's busy season in the creator economy with the holiday season and marketing budgets increasing for the holidays and not having the resources to. So needing time off, but not really knowing when I was going to make time for it. Plus, of course, the in-betweens of running a business like admin and finances and navigating client relationships, networking, business development, and all of that. So on Tuesday, September 2nd, I had therapy. And I recently got a new therapist because we should really normalize firing our therapists when they're no longer working for us. And I'm so glad I found a new one. I had been working with her for about a month in every other week sessions. And I jumped on my call with her, really needing a safe space to just vent and get it all out of my system. And I needed to get my mind straight because I knew that September was going to be a busy month work-wise, but I really planned to not do any events and not travel and really lock into my business. And then she said something that changed my life. She said, "You're not an octopus. You don't have tentacles. You can't be everything to everyone. It's okay to say no." And as someone who has always been a giver and who went into a profession where I handled people's problems, I have always been someone who takes on everybody's things and then I don't really make time for myself. And so that advice really made me pause, and it has been something that has stuck with me and I've really internalized in the last couple of weeks. And so immediately after our call, I looked at my calendar and I started really taking note of the things that were on there that I did not need to be on there. And that's something that I've been doing since law school. But as things have gotten busier, I stopped doing. I was saying yes to every opportunity that would come my way because I needed clients. I wanted work and I wanted to put myself out there and build my personal brand as the go-to creator economy attorney. So I didn't feel like I could say no to things, and everything has now changed. Imagine my surprise after I get off that call when I go to check my customer service email and I see an email from a US House of Representatives staffer. I honestly thought the email was fake. I could not believe that that was actually happening. But after a little bit of research, I went and emailed her back and said, "Hi, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would love to know how you found me, and I would love to know more about this opportunity. Do you have time for a call this week?" After a little bit of back and forth, we booked a call for Thursday. And mind you, it's September 4th right now. So this is all happening really quickly. And the first question on my call with her was, "How did you find me? And what is this hearing?" And after getting all the details, she told me it was unpaid. So it's not the most convenient work trip. It's not the easiest, but I've never shied away from hard things. I've always kind of danced the beat of my own drum. I've never followed the traditional path, definitely not as a lawyer and as a law student. So when I got all the information from her and I realized that, this is the opportunity for Congress to make history, for me to be a part of making history, the fact that we're even getting this opportunity, we're getting a seat at the table They want to understand why content creators are such a growing cohort of American entrepreneurs. They wanted to learn from the source. It was a fact-finding mission. It was not adversarial at all, but the fact that I was even being considered as an expert in this space, I knew I just could not say no, even though I had 2 days before told my therapist that I was going to be better about saying no to things. But honestly, in all of this, I learned who my real friends are. I said no to things that were not going to make a difference. Like I said, in law school, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, in law school, my metric was if it's not going to inspire me or fulfill me or make me happy or get me where I want to go, I have to say no, because I don't have enough. We only have 24 hours in a day. And a lot of those are spent sleeping or eating or showering or with my friends and family. And I have other commitments. So I needed to find a better way to measure what are the things I want to actually invest my time in. And so when I got this opportunity, all my therapy work went out the window because, of course, I had to do it. After I got off the call with the staffers, the first thing I did was I called my work mom and dad. First, I called Frank, and then I called Danielle. Frank is one of my colleagues who I've been working really closely with for the last year and a half. And Danielle is a former Big Law partner who has become a really incredible mentor and advocate for me here in Miami. I'm so grateful to call them my friends and support system. Truly, besides my parents, they are my biggest champions, and I knew that they had to be a part of this in some capacity. And then the next thing I did is I started looking up flights and how many chase points I had to make it happen, because DC's not cheap. And I was planning originally to just go up the day of and fly back home that night. My next call was a couple of producers at NBC6, our local NBC affiliate, to start getting press for this opportunity, because I wanted to document my life and the process and the behind the scenes for you guys, but also for myself, the memory of how this opportunity could really change the trajectory of my career. And, I built my business by documenting every moment behind the scenes publicly, and sometimes personal stuff too. So I knew that I had to share this. And only then, when my parents got home from work that night, did I tell my parents. It was honestly such a whirlwind. By that point, I had already found flights. I had made a game plan to have some of my recent law school grad friends help me prepare the written testimony that I had 12 days to submit. And I booked a brainstorm Zoom with some of my colleagues. I call them the Goon Squad, to help me get their feedback and their thoughts, to make sure that while I'm the face of this opportunity, I'm not the only lawyer in this space, and I'm not the first one. So I wanted to make sure that I was representative of everybody in the community. And then I booked an emergency hair appointment and emergency Botox appointment, because if I was going to be on C-SPAN and on YouTube forever, I needed to look my best and I wanted to feel my best. If you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you look good. And I also reached out to a stylist to help me figure out my outfit. So that was all on Thursday. And by Friday, I had officially booked the flights, and my mom offered to get me a hotel room in New York City, which I'll get to in a moment. But by Monday the next week, I had all the cosmetic stuff figured out. I had gone shopping to get a blazer for my outfit, and I had already, gotten the NBC opportunity. I had booked the day, which I was going to go to the studio and film the segment. And you can go check it out on my press page on my website, by the way. I'll link it in the description for you guys. And I had scripted out a rough draft of my written testimony with the help of Metha and Claire and my 2 law clerks. And I was working on my 5-minute oral testimony. I had recorded myself speaking it a couple times to make sure I was under the 5-minute mark, and I really got everything that I wanted to say. So by Sunday night, I had finalized it, and my parents had read it. They critiqued it, and I was feeling good on Monday morning. I originally had booked my flight for Wednesday, the morning of the hearing. It was 2 p.m. But because of weather, I decided to move it to Tuesday. And I'm actually so glad I ended up flying on Tuesday. And my assistant came with me on the same flight. And it was really nice to have her be there in the lead up to it, because it kept me focused and calm. And so because I had needed a hotel room now for another night in DC, my mom offered to get me the DC hotel room so I could handle the New York one. Because when I called Danielle a couple days before to tell her about this opportunity, she presented me with another incredible opportunity to maximize my exposure that I couldn't really say no to walk in a charity fashion show in New York City the night after the hearing. And so I was going to be staying in New York for at least one night, the night of the fashion show. And I was going to fly out Friday morning originally. So Tuesday, I had packed up Monday night, and on Tuesday morning, I flew to DC. And fun fact, we're recording in her apartment right now. Shout out to her. But also, we only met a month ago, which is absolutely crazy. And if you guys follow me on social media, you'll see more about the team that I'm building at Kayla Moran Law soon. So stay tuned for that. But in DC, I went to coffee with my friend Sam. I went to Dry Bar to get my hair done because, of course, I needed to look and feel my best. And with all the prep going into the hearing and actual client work, I just wasn't going to have time to do my hair myself. And then I went to dinner with Claire, who was a law clerk at the time. She recently passed the Florida bar. I'm so proud of her, and she's going to be my associate at the firm. She was living in Virginia, so it was easy for her to drive in. And then my friend Adriana, who works in Big Law, joined us for dinner. And it was really nice girl dinner to shake off the nerves and get hyped up for what was going to be the craziest, most amazing experience of my life. Also, I'm so glad that Claire was with me and staying the night at the hotel with me, because I ended up getting super sick the night before the hearing. And if I had been alone, it would have been like Sunday scaries to the max. So I'm glad that Claire was there. Frank and Medha, the other law clerk that helped me out, took the train in from New York. So I had a little squad with me at the hearing, which was honestly, I'm so, so grateful. And Medha actually was a guest on the podcast last year. So I'll link her episode in the description for you guys as well. That morning, after my night of what I really hoped and prayed wasn't going to be restless sleep, and thankfully it wasn't, Claire and I took an easy, chill morning. We got breakfast. We watched the Summer I Turned Pretty finale because it released that day. And I was getting ready, prepping for my testimony. And Wednesday morning, we were at 10 a.m. told to be there by 12:15 so we could walk out on the speaker's balcony, which is usually closed, and get pictures. But unfortunately, we made it at 1 p.m. because if you're trying to get a bunch of girls ready on time, it's never going to happen, especially since we were trying to get content and I was so nervous. But I honestly hadn't had a moment to process any of it. So I'm glad that I was just busy and I had my team with me, and it was great. And when I walked up to Capitol Hill, I met my fellow panelists for the first time. I had talked to a couple of them in DMs or their managers. Like some of them were creators, some of them were one of them was a president of a NIL talent management agency, and then two creators. So I met one of the creators. His representation was there as well, which was really cool. And we walked into the Capitol, into the Rayburn building at the House of Representatives. And that was, I think, when it started to really like hit me, like as someone who has always wanted to be in politics as a kid, and I actually wanted to be a weather girl in elementary school. So like the NBC opportunity was really cool, walking into the studio and seeing the weatherman do his reporting. But walking in, I had my Olivia Pope moment. Like I was going in to get shit done, and it was really, really cool. And so I was there for the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Small Business hearing titled Streaming Success, Small Business in the Age of Digital Influence. And the four of us expert panelists, I was from Florida, one from New York, one from Texas, and I don't remember where the fourth one was from. But he has ties to, like, he was a fellow in Fulbright fellow in China, and has really cool like history as well. So it was like a really good diverse group of people. And I'm gonna let you guys all watch the hearing recap. It's on YouTube, and I'll put it in the description along with my testimony. So I don't want to dive in too much to the actual hearing itself. I'm going to walk you through the behind the scenes and how this all came to be even more in depth. But I just wanted to share, what this actually was and how crazy of an opportunity this was for me, especially just where I was at in my personal life as all this came to be. I'm also clipping the testimony and the NBC segment for you guys on social media. So if you guys want to go watch it on there and you don't want to watch the whole thing on YouTube, you guys can just check it out on my social media. But before I get into the questions, I just want to say this experience has me processing still like the full significance of what just happened. It really hasn't hit me yet. Little by little, I journaled this morning for the first time. I've gone to therapy now. I did yoga. I actually like fully went unconscious in yoga last night. Like that's how deep in meditation I got. And I felt like a release of all these emotions. But I'm still working through all of this, but I just want to say this invitation is proof that someone's always watching, even when your views are down or you don't have a lot of followers and you don't think it's working. Someone's always watching. Someone will find it, and consistency is key. And it's a testament to my personal brand, which if you've been following me here for a while, you know I've been building since I was a law student. And this honestly has fueled me to continue documenting everything like I'm doing right now, with boundaries, of course, for my personal life. But I love sharing everything. And if it wasn't for me sharing the behind the scenes of building in public my brand, my law firm, I wouldn't even have this opportunity. And I've never gone viral. I'm still working to get my dream clients and grow my firm, but I really feel like this is the moment that something changed for me, like something shifted. And this is only the beginning. I can really feel this is the beginning of the next chapter of my career, which, as you guys know, I write a birthday letter to myself, which is coming up in next month. And I feel like I'm closing out Q3 on a high and entering Q4 and my 28th year on a really good note. So I'm also going to shout out my newsletter, which has a lot more of what I'm cooking up in the future and more behind the scenes. It's kind of been my like de facto podcast in the couple of months since I've been off air. I do a written newsletter every couple of weeks where I really just tell you guys what has been going on and what I'm working on. So if you want to know more about what's coming up for me, you should check out the newsletter. And now let's dive into all the questions that you guys sent in. So the question that everybody has asked is, how did I get this opportunity? And like I said, I asked her this, the first question I asked her in email. And then when we got on the call on September 4th was, how did you find me? And her answer was social media. And mind you, the hearing was on September 17th. We spoke on September 4th. Like I had less than 2 weeks to really get it all together. And like I said, this is a testament to social media and to personal branding and showing up online. The committee majority staffer who reached out to me said she found me through a podcast that I was a guest on, and like the clips that they had shared on Instagram, which I still am trying to figure out which podcast it was. She didn't tell me. I don't think she knew the name. But she found my account through that podcast and then just doom scrolled basically. She's a young girl just like us and really liked me, really liked my message, my voice, my brand, and wanted to reach out. And so that's really how it all happened. Like there was no application. I didn't even know this hearing was happening. It is public record, but I had no idea. And so to anyone who wants speaking opportunities like this, yes, there's a lot of them that you can get pitching yourself. And I pitch myself to speaking events all the time. And I have friends reach out to me and tell me like, oh, you should go to this event, or you should check out this thing, or you should reach out to them. But honestly, sometimes they just come to you by being so in your purpose and so authentic to yourself. So personal branding is key. You guys know I'm a big believer in that. So the next question is, what was it actually like walking into Capitol Hill to testify? Like I said, surreal. Like I still haven't processed it all. I keep having these pinch me moments. I was shaking so bad. If you watch the testimony, if you know my mannerisms, which if you watch this, you do, you'll tell that I'm shaking. Like I couldn't even hold the cue cards that I had made. My voice was shaking. Antonella, my assistant, joked that she needed to give me cough drops because I kept like clearing my throat. I was looking around at all the decor around me and the nameplates of the committee members when other people were talking, just really being like, am I actually doing this? Like, am I actually here right now? I've only been a lawyer for 3 years. I'm about to become a 4th-year attorney now when the new class gets sworn in the next couple of days. My job didn't exist when I was a law student. My job didn't exist 5 years ago. Like there is people doing it in this space that have been doing it for longer than that. They were traditional entertainment law attorneys that took an existing playbook and modified it. Truly, I am building a firm of its own class, and I'm doing it through social media. And like, there's not a lot of us doing that. So I was just really like, holy crap. I was only a law student 5 years ago. I was only in high school 10 years ago. And I've been building this firm for 3 years. And here I am sitting in front of lawmakers talking about an industry that I'm so passionate about, being recognized as an expert. Like, oh my God. And honestly, the whole experience felt like validation of every late night I've spent curating content, all the blood, sweat, and tears. And if you know me, there was a lot of blood and a lot of tears, not so much sweat, but I am starting to work out more. And every vulnerable post about building my practice, all the times that people didn't get it and told me I should get a real job, every time I showed up consistently, even though people weren't liking it, people weren't sharing the content, the lack of money. I still live at home with my parents. The inability to live at home because every dollar I make goes right back into the firm. This was the moment that all of that was worth it. It paid off. And I've always said that entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development journey. I would not be who I am today had I not gone to law school, but I also wouldn't be who I am today had I not started my own business. I actually have a couple different businesses that I do, and I actually have a couple more ideas. And I actually spoke to a professor today of FIU law, and he was like, yeah, you, from the 5 minutes that I've known you, you are very entrepreneurial. I don't see you at a big firm. Even though I've had opportunities to go to bigger firms recently, I would have to give up all of this stuff, and I don't want to do that. So the fact that me doing it my way, it was just proof that someone's always watching, that that I was doing something right. And like I said, I don't even really know where to start, but how it made me feel is just surreal and proud and grateful and honestly just really happy, excited. I didn't show it, I don't think, in the moment. I was really trying to keep my emotions down because I knew that I didn't have the luxury of being emotional. I needed to get so much done and still keep up with my client work. And I was working nights and weekends, and I'm still trying to kind of get back into my routine now. But yeah, I just felt really grateful and like holding space for law school me and college me, and even me a year ago, and even me earlier this year. I've come such a long way in such a short amount of time. So I'm just really, really grateful and proud of myself. I think part of what's making it so hard for me to process everything too is that it's not just about me. Like I said, I am the face of this, but I'm not the only lawyer in the space. I'm definitely not the only creator. I'm, you know, I wanted everyone that has helped me get here and actually truly does support me, because I have a lot of people who don't support me. And I've gotten too close to the sun and they've cut me off. And we've talked about that tall poppy syndrome before. But the people who truly champion me and support me and get it, like I wanted them to be a part of it too, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them mentoring me and guiding me. So I think that has made it a lot harder to process too, because it wasn't just about me and I didn't want to make it about me. And I was trying really hard to keep my emotions in check because there's a version of this where imposter syndrome really kicked in, but I genuinely don't feel like I have imposter syndrome anymore because there's just no one doing it quite like me. And I say that it's not trying to be cocky at all. It's really just like, holy crap, I did that. I've created this for myself, And I want you guys to know too that going in, my goal was for Congress to understand that us content creators, small business owners, talent managers, influencers, marketing agencies, photographers, videographers, all of us, we are not just people filming ourselves and working with brands to make money. We're driving significant economic impact. That's why Congress even took note in the first place. This industry is projected to be $500 billion by 2027, which at this point is almost a year away. And Goldman Sachs said that, and if you read my written testimony, you'll see more of those stats. But I went in there with a mission and a purpose, and it was for Congress to understand that we need regulation and we need support and we need guidance because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that we need tax and policy change. We need laws to guide us and framework in case we need to sue someone, or if we get sued, what laws apply. We don't know, because right now we're using outdated traditional entertainment law frameworks, or athlete frameworks, endorsement deals, celebrity deals. That's the framework. But while that's similar for the bigger creators, when you're just starting out, like that doesn't necessarily apply to us. So we need something to guide us, things like a federal right of publicity and more bargaining power and contracting and help navigating infringement and AI regulation and guidance. Like there's all these things that I asked for in my testimony that I wanted you guys to know that I'm fighting for. So I really hope you guys read it, because I don't want to dive in too much into that here. But I think I accomplished that goal in the sense that they listened, they seem to really care, they seem to do their research. I think the fact that they're even recognizing that this is an industry that they need support, they need to provide support for, is validation for us as creators, and for all of us who have been told our work isn't real and it's not a business. And so I really want to see them do something about it. But I think that's what's made it so hard to process all of this, is that I'm not doing this for me. I'm keeping all of you guys in mind. And, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we need to go far. So I'm bringing you guys all along with me for the ride. And that's why I wanted to record this for you guys. There will be follow-up questions. Committee members have the ability to ask us questions to put on the record. I've had some reporters reach out to me for articles. I'm going to do more interviews and things as the opportunities arise. And I'll actually be back in DC later this month for the Marine Corps Marathon, because my dad's running it, but also I'm making myself available to meet with staffers or committee members to continue the conversation. So stay tuned, because there's a lot more to come. I really do think this is only the beginning. Let's dive into some of your questions now, for real. So someone asked, what do I think this means for the future of creator rights and legislation? Which I think is such a great question. I'm glad someone wanted to know. And reporters have asked me this too. Like I said, I think this is the beginning of creators being taken seriously as business owners. People understand now that they're driving lots of money, multi-million dollars, billions of dollars, but they're not getting the benefit of that. Payment terms are super delayed. Deals are really small. We're taking on the brunt of distribution of the content and production of the content, which traditionally marketing agencies would spend millions of dollars on. And we're doing it for $1,500 to $10,000 on average for average creators, starting out, especially UGC. And, I think the fact that we're even having this conversation was a step in the right direction. So I really think there will be more hearings on this. I'm hopeful, at least, the more noise we make, which is why I'm making that noise, especially with the TikTok deal that is starting to make the rounds now, which I've been doing some research on, but I have to really dive in on. And I'm going to cover it on LinkedIn next week. So for sure, stay tuned for that, and in my content, of course. But like I said, this testimony, this hearing was really about ensuring creators have the same protections and opportunities like your traditional small businesses in America, your mechanic shops, your restaurants, your mom and pops. So I think the fact that fellow Americans and our leaders are recognizing that we deserve that right and that support, fair contracts, legal and tax protections, I think that's what that means, is that it's coming. I don't know when or how or who or why, but I think the why is that we've just made enough of a splash that we're fighting for it. And that has always been my mission, to help creators fight for their rights that they didn't even know they had, educating them and supporting them and advocating for them. And now I get to do that on a larger scale. What's the biggest lesson you want creators to take from your experience? Like I've said throughout this whole episode, the authenticity and consistency will create opportunities for you that you can't even imagine. Even Alex Earl last night on Dancing with the Stars, she said it, when she started out on TikTok, Whitney Levitt too, the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives girl, when they started TikTok, they had no idea that they would become what they have, that they would end up on Dancing with the Stars. But look at the platforms they have built just because of social media. So if you are going to use social media for your business or create content and use that to launch a business, show up authentically as yourself and show up every single day, no matter what. Don't blame the algorithm. Oh, I'm not growing fast enough. Oh, I'm not making enough money. One day it could flip so fast and you don't even know where it's going to come from. So keep showing up online every day like yourself. Be unapologetic. I didn't try to get on Capitol Hill. Like, that was not the goal. I didn't even know it existed. Like, the platform that I was building, it was because, like I said, I wanted to support creators and I wanted to guide them and help them and advocate for them, because I understood what it was like to be a creator and not have those protections in place. These contracts that you read are awful. And I wanted someone to know that there's someone fighting for them. Like, I wanted a creator to know that someone is in their corner. So, my congresswoman isn't a member of the Committee on Small Business. I did not apply. I didn't reach out to anybody in Congress or in the government to do this. I definitely did afterwards. I have some friends and colleagues and former colleagues in the government that I reached out to, and some of them came to the hearing and supported me, or some of them watched. My AP US government teacher watched it in class, with his students. Some of them have reached out to me, but I had no idea that this was going to happen. And I want anyone who's watching this or listening to this to know that just showing up online as yourself, could open so many doors for you, even if you don't want to be a creator forever. I create content now to market my business primarily, but I also still love creating content for myself and for fun and the lifestyle side of things. But I'm not trying to be an influencer anymore because the game has changed. The vision for me has changed. The goals have changed. And I'm so grateful that I didn't just stop creating content when I realized I wanted to pursue a more traditional legal role instead of being just a content creator. I don't think there's anything wrong with being just a content creator as long as you are treating it like a business. And that's what I want to help you do. But, I'm so glad I didn't stop creating content and actually use that as part of my marketing strategy. It's my whole marketing strategy, really, because combining my skills and interests and passions, finding a white space in the market and building in the white space, like that is what got me here. So that's what you need to do. That is my biggest lesson for you guys, my biggest piece of advice. And, like I said, every piece of content, every vulnerable post, every behind the scenes, it all contributed to me establishing myself as someone who truly understands the space and, how we can all make our dreams come true. So that is what I want you to get. But like I always say, you need to know what those dreams are to be able to have something that you're working towards. Remember my red string theory, always knowing what the goal, the end point is, and reverse engineer your life, work backwards. The goal is going to change, but the fact that you're working towards something, that there always has to be something that you're working towards. And like I said, my vision has expanded exponentially in the last month. The things that I thought I wanted, I no longer want. Some things I do, some things I'm a lot closer to than I thought I would be. Some things I'm not anywhere near where I thought I would be, but I'm okay with that. And I think that's the beauty of this experience, is that it's a lesson for me in flexibility and adaptability. And my dad is a Marine, and he has always told me, improvise, adapt, overcome. That's a mantra that the Marines have. And I've always been really resilient, and I've always been really flexible and adaptable and courageous. And I think that's how I got here. And I want you to know that you can be that way too. And if you need any help with that, please reach out to me. But I wanted you guys to know some of the key takeaways in my testimony because, yeah, this industry is still kind of the wild, wild west because tech is moving faster than the law can keep up with. And every single day there's new trends and stuff, but there is tangible things that you could do. There is resources out there for you. So I wanted you to know what I'm fighting for, like actually, so you guys can build sustainable businesses and protect the empires that you're building with your IP and the assets and the money that you're making, and build wealth, build generational wealth, right? So like I said, a federal right of publicity, IP protections. I want to talk about the imbalance of power and the trend towards monopolization of marketing agencies, the need for industry professionals and dedicated experts, not just lawyers, but accountants, wealth managers, tax preparers, need for regulation and support of them, tax policy, standard deductions and things like that for you guys, mental health and financial protections for minors. And, we've seen the Britney Spears situation. We've seen the Jeanette McCurdy situation. We've seen like kidfluencers. So protections for them, guidance for foreign brands and foreign creators working with domestic brands and domestic creators. So any combination of that, if you are a Canadian working in the US as an influencer on a visa, or vice versa, you're a US creator working with a Canadian brand or a UK brand, like what are all the tax implications of that, the legal implications of that, especially with IP, FTC guidelines and best practices, like more support and understanding them. And of course, AI and platform volatility issues, which some of the congressmen did ask me about, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which was very high level. And I hope someone who's more qualified to answer that question actually answers it on the record. But, there was some really important conversations being had in this hearing. And I just want you guys to know that I'm more committed than ever to providing support for you guys. And yeah, that's why all of this is just so much to process, but I'm really just happy that I get to be a part of this. And it's my Olivia Pope moment. I want to keep working with the congressmen and women that I've met. I want to continue working with senators or meet senators and work with them. And I've always wanted to be a thought leader in this space. I started out as a law student being a thought leader in this space. That's how I started building my brand. So if you're a law student listening to this, like build your brand in public. If you want to potentially be on your own or work in a boutique or an emerging industry of law. You know, if you want to go big law, then maybe not so much, but that's something you got to decide for yourself. And that's why I said, like, you need to know what your goals are. But to my creatives, I want you to know that I'm here for you to support you and guide you. And I am really excited for where this is going to go. And I just want to say thank you guys all for listening. I hope to be back with you weekly soon. If you like this episode, please leave a rating and review, subscribe to the show, share with a friend, tag us as you're listening, and I will see you guys hopefully in 2026.